Thanks for coming today, guys. Today we're going to step through the moderation protocol. To do that, we're going to be looking at the different data that we've got from feedback from students and also data from the CAT, from what we've got in terms of students' bans and exits. And from that, we're hoping to draw some good discussion, which will lead us into thinking about what we can do to improve our learning sequences and CATs and teaching and instruction for future. So thanks to Chloe, she's going to be doing our scribe. She's going to be our scribe for today. And what we're going to look at first is the student feedback. Now, everyone's been given your student feedback in advance. So we'll open up now for some discussion into any trends that you guys saw about what students have said in the feedback.
Yeah, on the first question it says, what helped me be successful? So out of my responses, I had more than half of them mention that the teacher explained each section of the CAT in detail, which was a positive. Also had a couple of people saying that the scaffolds were adequate to help them work through the CAT.
Yeah, I found the same. Yeah, the red part was quite large, maybe not the green so much, but yeah, the teacher explained. The scaffolds, yeah, maybe not quite as much, but still big chunk.
Yeah, I agree with both Stuart and Chloe because both sections from a teacher explained each section and the scaffolding were the biggest section out of the pie chart.
Saw the same thing as well.
Yeah. Got some equal number also saying that they found.
So we've got some good feedback and ideas, and we've collated a bunch of that. What we're going to do is we'll move on to the next bits, but we'll come back at the end and we'll go through what some of the main points of feedback that we drew from this are, because I think that the next step is then taking that and turning that into potential actions that we can use to improve our CATs, but we'll do that as part of one of the later steps. So the next thing for us to do is to do the section on measuring growth. So the prompt here is how do student CATs results compared to the predicted levels from the norm reference data. So this is about using our instructional groups. Now, what we have available today in respect to that, so in regards to that, is probably our bands that we have in our CATs and having a look at the distribution of student achievement in those bands and having a look to see if there's any trends we can find about band 5 compared to band 4 in terms of how the different levels of students respond to the CAT, the levels of achievement.
Well, I think the first thing that stands out, the band 4s, the green areas of working towards is significantly higher than band 5. It looks almost close to half of the kids on average are working towards or lower, which is not the case in band 5. So the band 4 kids are finding it more difficult.
So, what we're going to do now is we're going to go across to the next stage, which is data evaluation, and we're going to have a look at the data for all bands. I think we can keep band 4 and 5 in mind as well, so we can keep that in front of us. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at what is similar between classes now and what's different between classes, and see if we can think about potentially any factors that may have contributed to that. So just in regards to this, let's make sure we remain objective. We'll keep in mind sort of the differences with classes and differences in teaching styles and that sort of thing. So depending on your particular cohort of students, that can affect your results. So we'll just keep that in mind.
That's right.
Make sure we're open to suggestions and we're
well, when I compare all the bands across the Year 8 classes, I can see that in 8B in my class there is no working towards or emerging levels. We're starting directly from exit 1, following by exit 2, which is a very small percentage, so the biggest percentage is exit 3. And I have to admit that when I was teaching 8B, my focus was the CAT, so I was teaching them towards achieving the proper exits in the CAT. So I was following the learning sequence as it was written, but then again I was emphasising the parts of the curriculum that were needed to cover the CAT.
It's timely for moving into the next section where we're going to have a look at the CAT, the rubric and the learning sequence. We've got a series of dot points, and we're just going to go through and sort of, consider for each of these whether or not we think that they're relevant to to our feedback in terms of something that needs to be improved, or whether or not we think it's appropriate in consideration of what we've just discussed. So, first of all, looking at the CAT, we've got the tick point. Did us as teachers go through the CAT and explain the nuances of the CAT to the students? Do you think that's something that we've got well, or is there room for improvement?
I think we've got that reasonably well based on the student feedback from that survey. You know, a lot of them were saying, my teacher explained each section of the CAT in detail. All of us were saying that was one that flagged as one of the higher ranking things the students were saying.
We've had some really good discussion and thoughts. We'll just make sure that when we're talking about these next points, we'll just keep it specific to these particular points.
Yep.
And if there's anything general at the end, we can go through that next time as well. So what do we think about the length of the CAT? Is that something that we need to review?
I think that 4 sessions was more
so-
than able to
I-
do it. It
I
was really
agree.
good.
Yep.
I thought it was
Yeah.
definitely doable for those who tried.
Yeah.
How about... Oh, yep, okay, yep. No, that
there's
makes
two,
sense.
two boxes
Yep.
done.
So now that we've been through the different types of data, and we've also considered the different points with the CAT and the rubric and the learning sequence, we're going to do the last bit, which is we're going to have a look a little bit about what that means for our teaching practice, and make some suggestions as to what we can do going forward to implement some of the changes that we're suggesting. So. A couple of the suggestions that I've noted, and Chloe's got the list, but one in particular was about scaffolding the first question in the
Yes.
CAT better. So that's something in our responsive design. We also talked about maybe, I think we had some different methods of how we delivered the experiment in the CAT. Some
Yes.
people did it progressively, some people did it at the same time. It might be good to get consistency for that as well, in terms of what our protocol is in terms of delivering, the science experiment part of a CAT. Can anyone think of what are some, looking at what we've discussed, what were some other things that we maybe suggested?
Chloe,
Reflecting
what
through
else did
practice.
you write down of our suggestions?
Is it specific to the CAT?
Yes.
Oh, the learning sequence or the...
Yeah, or learning sequence as well. I think that given that the predictions and questioning was an issue for quite a few of us, and that's just an area we need to focus more on in the learning sequence time prior to
Awesome. Now, taking these things, what we'll do is we're going to move to the last section, which is responsive design, and we're going to talk about what things we're going to do in order to improve on these elements that we've talked about. So the first one being scaffolding of the first question of the CAT. How are we going to go about fixing that?
whoever's working on Year 8 science doing the triads, that might be a job they designate themselves for this term.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Looking at next term's CAT.
Alright, awesome. So we can put that up to the Year 7 and 8 triad. And then in terms of a completion date for that, we can perhaps negotiate that with them in terms of when that's available.
As long as it's prior to the next CAT being run.
Yep. Okay, guys. So we've been through all the different parts of our moderation now. Thank you, everyone, for coming and contributing in a respectful way. We've got some good outcomes for what we're going to do in future. Appreciate everyone's time. It's an important process, and hopefully we can implement some of these things to make our improvements for future. So thank you.
Sorry.
So, thank you.